Welcome to Star Wars Characters Explained. How much do you know about the elusive bounty hunter Mira? She has an intriguing and somewhat tragic history, so let's discover together the complete story of Mira. Before we start, if you go on to enjoy this video, know that there's a lot more coming, so perhaps consider subscribing and joining me for more in-depth stories like this one. Mira was born on an unknown planet in 3974 BBY, 2 years into the brutal Mandalorian Wars, and her home planet, like many, was subjugated by Mandalorian warlords, and her family were, to her knowledge, supposedly slain by the invaders. Mira herself was a tiny girl when she was taken into slavery by the Mandalorian soldiers. However, slavery for Mira was not one of abuse or suffering. Instead, she was taken in and raised by the Mandalorians. She would often carry munitions and learn from the squads that she was assigned to, but her slavery would come to an end just over a decade or so later when she was drafted into their military and assigned to a Mandalorian unit. The war was becoming increasingly tougher due to the arrival of a new Jedi tactician known as Revan, and everyone, including slaves, were brought in to bolster the Mandalorian ranks. Mira herself was taught how to survive in their military, how to hunt, how to use weapons and tactics, and Mira, although still young, became an able-bodied soldier within the Mandalorian army, coming to see her unit as a place of belonging that she hadn't had before, a family. By the time she was 14 years old, the Mandalorian Wars came to a devastating end during the Battle of Malachor V, with the entire Mandalorian and Jedi armadas being shattered and splintered by a devastating superweapon known as the Mass Shadow Generator. Mira's squad were a part of the battle at Malachor and, like most, were killed. However, Mira wasn't present. With her family gone, she, along with millions of galactic citizens, became refugees in the war's aftermath, and Mira was caught in the flood and found herself homeless in the refugee sector on the moon of Nar Shaddaa. Only a teenager, Mira was now completely alone and stranded in a dangerous place that exploited refugees, especially young women. And to survive, she utilized her Mandalorian training and became a bounty hunter. Over the next few years, Mira worked her way around the moon, hunting people down for credits. However, while she moved around, she noticed the devastation that the wars had caused. This stirred a unique feeling deep within Mira, a desire to help fix the galaxy, and in the process find a new place of belonging. This innate kindness extended to her bounty hunting work, and Mira was extremely compassionate, believing that bounty hunters didn't need to kill their targets to be successful, although she crafted a hardened shell to deter any threats that may try to use her kindness against her. Mira adopted provocative clothing, which she found was an effective tool against male targets who were often distracted by her, and she began to craft a unique reputation given her often unusual approach to capturing her targets. But Mira eventually caught the gaze of some shady people, and the hunter became the hunted after a Wookiee known as Hanha was hired by an unknown benefactor to kill her. Hanha's plan was simple: to drive Mira into the vents below the docks and ambush her, forcing her to run to the escape tunnels of which he rigged with explosive mines. However, Mira caught onto his scent and disabled the mines. As Hanha chased her, he pursued her further than intended after the mines didn't explode, but Mira had re-enabled them just as he passed over, leaving him on the cusp of death. But Mira saw the Wookiee crawl out of the tunnels, barely alive, and instead of killing her hunter, she instead felt pity for the creature and saved his life. This act of compassion forced Hanha into owing Mira a life debt, but the Wookiee was driven to insanity by this oath, seeing it as a twisted, living death that he couldn't escape from. The two would often cross paths, with Hanha threatening to kill her over and over, but unable to do so, furthering his insanity. Several years passed and even more refugees began to flood onto the moon after the Jedi Civil War, and Jedi themselves became a scarce rarity in the galaxy in the years that followed. Now 23 and a fully established bounty hunter, Mira watched as the galaxy itself was in a form of restoration from the wars that crippled it. But in 3951 BBY, the crime lord Goto gathered a group of extremely talented bounty hunters, including Hanha, to discuss the arrival of a rare target to Nar Shaddaa, the Jedi Exile Miras Story, who he wanted brought to him alive. Mira, however, was contacted by another Jedi, Zez Kayel, a former member of the Jedi Council who was using Nar Shadar's chaos to drown his presence. The Jedi Master paid Mira to watch over Mitra as she travelled across the moon, and to keep Goto away from her until he had the opportunity to speak with her. At one point, as Mira observed Mitra from afar in the Nar Shaddaa docks, she was cornered by Hanhar, who grabbed her by the throat and hung her over the edge of the docks, threatening to kill her. But once again, he was unable to break from his life debt. However, he seemed to have something planned for her. Mira continued to observe Mitra over the next few days, and she noticed the Jedi Exiles' extreme kindness as she selflessly helped the refugees everywhere she went, whilst putting dents in the armour of the crime syndicate known as the Exchange. However, Mitra was invited to meet with Exchange boss Visquis, but Mira learned that this was a trap. She instead caught up with Mitra, explaining to the Jedi that she and her companions were in extreme danger, and she took her to her safe house, but she knocked her out using high-strength drugs and took her place at the meeting, wearing an Enviro suit as a disguise. Mira intended to dissuade Visquis from going against the crime lord Goto. However, she was unaware that Hanhar was in league with Visquis, and when she revealed herself, the Quarren shocked her instead of letting her leave, giving Hanhar the opportunity to finally end his life debt. Mira awoke in an arena-like room with mines encircling the centre, and with Hanhar standing in front of her. The Wookiee had prepared a life-or-death scenario, and against her heart, Mira was forced to engage in a duel with the hulking carpet and overcame his brute strength with skill, seemingly killing the Wookiee. She then fought her way through the underground compound and freed the Jedi Exile who was caught in Visquis' trap in the escape tunnels. Mira returned to her safe house, meeting with the Jedi Exile's companions, and discovered that Mitra had now been captured by Goto. She proceeded to help the crew discover the location of Goto's hidden yacht in orbit of the moon, and then aided the group in liberating her from his clutches, destroying the yacht in the process and returning to the moon below with the Jedi Exile. With Goto dealt with and Nar Shaddaa healing due to the Exile's interventions, Mira felt an urge to follow Mitra and to help her with her goal of reuniting the Jedi Masters, and she offered her assistance. However, initially she raised her facade of a hardened bounty hunter, but over time she began to bond with the Jedi Exile, who often came to her to discuss how to find their targets and to talk about their lives in general, and eventually her emotional walls began to crumble in Mitra's presence. During their travels, Mira spoke with the Exile about how she could feel the life of Nar Shaddaa through its sound, a technique that suggested to Mitra force sensitivity. So, the Jedi Exile took Mira back to the moon and shared with her a way of feeling the Force in a way that she was once taught. They stood in the refugee landing pad together and listened to the ebb and flow of life on the moon, and the echoes that the Force created within every little thing. And although initially apprehensive, Mira became overwhelmed by the amplified sound of the moon through the Force. It was here that Mitra recognized Mira's potential and offered to train her as a Jedi. Mira herself saw this as an opportunity to help heal the galaxy as she had always wanted without hurting it as a bounty hunter, and to find a place of belonging that she hadn't had since the war. And so, Mira took her first steps towards becoming a Jedi and began to learn from the Jedi Exile, becoming a Jedi Sentinel and first learning how to calm her mind from the amplified feelings of the Force. However, as time passed, Mira found it sometimes uncomfortable how willing she was to kill for the Jedi Exile, given that she had spent her whole life trying to avoid murder. Over the next few months, Mira's skill with the Force increased and she learned much from the Jedi Exile as they eventually found the Jedi Masters. However, they were betrayed by one of their own, Kreia, and were forced into saving Telos IV from the Sith. When they did, the crew then travelled to Malachor V for a final confrontation with Kreia, now rechristened as Darth Traya, but the Ebon Hawk crashed and the crew were scattered. Mira herself left the ship to find Mitra and instead encountered something that she never expected to see again. It was Hanhar, who had hunted her all the way to Malachor V to get his revenge. But, with her newfound Jedi abilities, the insane Wookiee stood no chance and was brought to his knees. But even after all this time, Mira could see that the life debt had driven the poor Wookiee too far into insanity to be saved. As he begged for release from his torment, Mira, in an act of mercy, finally killed the Wookiee, knowing that he would never stop hunting her. Mira then returned to the Ebon Hawk and waited for Mitra, who defeated the Sith Lord. They then left Malachor behind, which was destroyed fully by the reactivated mass shadow generator, and they all returned to Republic space. With the Sith Triumvirate dead and the galaxy in a state of healing, Mira decided to learn some more from Mitra. However, the Jedi left known space to discover the fate of Revan and left her companions behind to rebuild the Jedi Order in her absence. Mira, Atton, Visas, Brianna, Beodor and Mikal banded together and reformed the Jedi High Council and rebuilt the Jedi Order from the ground up using Mitra's teachings. Mira herself, however, never let the position as a Jedi hold her back. She made the most of her life and her newfound power, and several decades later, she found herself on a forgotten planet, saving the lives of innocent people. She was ultimately killed in doing so, becoming one with the Force, and finally achieving her dream of finding belonging and helping to heal the galaxy. I hope you enjoyed Mira's story and perhaps learned something new. As always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and tell me in the comments, what do you think of Mira? I personally like her, but I felt she needed some more development. If you're interested, come and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and also, if you enjoy the videos that I make and the content that I provide, perhaps consider taking a look at Patreon, because for as little as $1, you can vote on all of my future videos, and not only do you get an impact on my channel, but you're supporting me directly, and it would help me out a great deal. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, may the Force be with you, always.